Hey guys, Sean here. I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who has been tuning into the Play It Up podcast so far. We really love doing this podcast and really appreciate everyone who listens. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Play It Up podcast, and you can watch the full video podcast on YouTube or listen on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, and more. If you like what we do, please give us a follow, subscribe, comment, like, or review. And if you really like us, please recommend us to other people who might like us. Thanks, guys, and enjoy the episode.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Play It Up podcast. Today we've got a bit of an Australian Kong-off edition happening. So our first guest on tonight is Jay Mack. Jay, how are you today?
Tonight? Real good, thanks, Neil. Real good. Just chipping away down here in Melbourne, trying to take all the positives out of lockdown, and just kind of get on with life. I mean, everything's changed a little bit around. We know what lockdown's like down here. We've done it before, and I just try and take the positives out of it. Spend a bit more time with the family. We bought not a new home, an old home, about 18 months ago. So it actually gives us a bit of time to work on stuff around here. And my daughter's just gone into prep or foundation, so it gives me a bit of a chance to kind of spend a little bit more time with her. So I try and take the positives out of it. It's frustrating, as we were talking about before you started recording. I missed out on a trip. It's the second trip I've missed out on because of COVID. Yeah. But I mean, that's small bickies in the grand scheme of things. There's people that are doing it a lot harder than me. So I really can't complain.
Yeah, fair enough. Are the kids still able to go to school, or are they stuck at home with you?
Yeah, they're stuck at home with us. We're doing homeschooling at the moment, which I mean, again, I try and take the positives out of it. I trained as a teacher, so I did a degree in primary school teaching. I've never really used it because I've gone on to other things. But I mean, I really enjoy having the kids at home and taking part in their teaching. And it's only for a short time, so it's not like it gets on top of us.
Yeah, for sure, man. So let's get straight into business. Let's start talking about Kong now. You tell us, how did you start getting into video games? Are you just a Donkey Kong player, or do you play other things as well?
Oh no, it was a long time ago. So I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, and let me say, Neil, you do a great job of getting people on the airwaves, getting them to talk about themselves. And just talk about the things that they've done as kids and then growing up into adults and following this passion of gaming that they've had. And it's very similar for me. And I'll pull you up. I know you've already brought it up before we went on to air, but Ghosts and Goblins World Record, man. Incredible, thanks, man. Incredible feat. And that's not your only one that you've taken in the past. You've had quite a few. But it's relevant because the first console I ever got was the Sega Master System. We used to hang out with the cousins, and they had a Nintendo, and I must have been, I reckon, 5 or 6 years old when I saw a Nintendo for the first time. And I just remember thinking, even at that young age, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then the next Christmas, just by pot luck, Santa bought us a Sega Master System. So it came with the built-in games, and it also came along with a game that you might not have heard of called Wonder Boy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And awesome. And I would consider that still to this day one of my favorite games, because it was where it all started for me. Mm-hmm. And it was a real grind at that young age. Wonder Boy was a grind for me. I was actually looking up today because I knew I was going to be talking to you how many levels there were in Wonder Boy. And what is that? How many levels is it? It's not all that many, is there?
Yeah, so the arcade version is 32 levels. Yeah, so Yeah, I think the master system might be a little bit different, because like there's hidden bonus stages, I believe, and things that I didn't see when I did my arcade run. But yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, another great feat of yours, but that's where it all started for me.
yeah,
And then it moved on from there. We got a Super Nintendo, just like, and I've listened to a lot of the podcasts. A lot of people tell the same story of them upgrading to the next
yeah,
one and then upgrading to the next one. But then we moved on to the Super Nintendo from there. And I guess that's when I really got into, role-playing games, different types of games. The Super Nintendo was just an amazing system for having a wide variety of games. We started off on Street Fighter. I'm pretty sure Street Fighter came out on the Super Nintendo.
yeah. That's
And
awesome.
it was a brutally difficult game. But the good thing about having brothers around your own age is that everyone's as shit as you are. So you got good together. You got better at games together.
Mm.
So we started off being horrible and picking really difficult players to play on Street Fighter. And then obviously as we got better and started playing against friends, as it kind of evolved through our childhood and then into our teens, I mean, you go with Ryu or Ken because when you get them down, you can beat anyone with them.
Yeah.
But that's what I loved about the Super Nintendo. Going into the Super Nintendo era, there was just so many different games, and still to this day, probably my favorite game of all time was Secret of Mana.
Okay, cool.
Don't know if you've played it,
That's
Neil.
yeah, that's a role-playing game, is it? That's a real RPG on the SNES.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
And that kind of opened the doors to like this role playing, getting sucked into a game. Like I play games like Wonder Boy, and keep in mind I'm still a pretty young kid at this stage, but got sucked into games like Wonder Boy, where you're side scrolling based on skill of hand and eye, to Street Fighter, where you're playing against other people.
Yeah.
It was the first game that really sucked me in, and I just got sucked into this world that they had created. There was an amazing story. I thought amazing graphics for the time. I still love those type of graphics to this day.
Yeah.
But story, music, graphics, everything just came together as one. And the best thing that came out of it was, and it wasn't common in Australia, but we got that connector converter that you could play 4 players on the
No
Super
way.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 other brothers, one younger, one older. We could play this role-playing game together.
Oh man,
and it just changed everything. Like every other game, people were waiting for a turn. It was either a 2-player game or a 1-player game, and you had to cycle through 3 people.
Yeah.
Or if it was a fighting game, 2 people got to play off, and someone had to wait back. It was the first game that everyone got into and lived the story from start to finish.
Yeah.
And at that time, I don't know if I replayed it now, maybe it wouldn't be as good, or maybe it wouldn't be as difficult, but it seemed bloody difficult at the time. And it really, really brought people, like it brought us brothers together. Like you had to work at a common goal, and every defeat was a defeat for everyone, and every victory over a boss was a victory for everyone. And I just thought that was an amazing game, but an amazing way to spend your time together. So that's kind of when I actually got really into gaming.
Yeah, right.
And then obviously it moved on from there to different consoles. And I could talk to you for 3 hours on different games that I've loved and why I've loved them. But like from then on, I mean, it was always the games that I really loved. We had like Resident Evil, that was a single player game, but most of them were games that we played together. And even into my later life, I mean, maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when Battlefield 3 came out, I was playing it with my brother, and it was a game that just really got away from me. Like, and one of the first games that counted your stats and how long you played it. Yeah. And I never checked it. And then one day I checked it. It was like you played 550 hours of Battlefield, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of time to be playing a game. It was just a good, fun time in my life where I just joined my new job, and I was working 4 days on, 4 days off. So I had quite a bit of time on the days off. I didn't want to do anything else. because I was still learning the job. My brother was studying for something else, so well, he should have been studying, but we could easily fit 6 hours of gaming into a day, and the time would just go like that. And my wife would come home from work, and I'd be absolutely knackered from playing 7 hours straight of a first-person shooter. Man, I could literally, I would go to sleep at night. I could see myself looking down the scope. It was overboard. It was overboard. But that kind of led into my. I don't want to say love for Kong. My relationship with Kong.
Your relationship,
was Paul Falcone. A lot of the Australian arcade community would know him from going up and off and buying and selling on different trading sites and doing his own projects. But our friends were kids. Our wives were friends. And we were just spending a day together one day, and he says, "Oh, have you seen this documentary? It's about a game called Donkey Kong." I was like, "Man, I know Donkey Kong. I played it on Nintendo, one of those, those like bar bistros that you used to go to when you're a young kid. They have a ball pit and a play area, and then a couple of consoles set up. And then your folks would go sit on a table and have wines till about 10:30 at night and have fun, or you were taken care of by the ball pit and the consoles.
That's it.
I think I played it then. I played it then, but I didn't really know the game that well. And I said, no, I haven't seen it. And documentary is a very loose term for what was created.
Mockumentary, we'll call it.
Well, that's right. But I watched it, and it was a lot of good fun. Like, you could see through all the rubbish, but it painted Donkey Kong in a pretty good light, and a challenging light of this is the hardest game of all time.
Yeah.
And Paul obviously told me that he was starting this project. If he was going to try and build an original cab from the ground up with all the original components. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing too. So I watched it and I thought, and I've heard Matt Tecchio, if you've ever heard of him before, he said the same thing. I kind of watched it and I thought, they talked about how hard the game was, and I was like, how hard is it really? So I had a couple of cracks at it, and I thought, it's actually a bastard of a game.
Yeah, it's a bitch, isn't it?
But it's horrible. It's a nasty game. But I played it a little more, and the good thing about Kong is that there's different milestones that you make for yourself. And again, the thing that got me really addicted to it was I'd go around to Paul's place after he had just made his schmicko cab. This thing is beautiful. It's an absolute work of art. And after it's done, there's only one thing to do with it, and that's get into it and start playing. So I go around, and when it started off, it was a really good pastime because we were both shit. So your games went for about 6 or 7 minutes, if that. And you jump on, and then the other person would jump on, and then you might have a can of whiskey or a can of scotch, something, and then the other person would jump on. But then as you got better, the games would last for a little bit longer, and it kind of became a little bit of a lonelier game for me. But and that's just the way that I experienced it. That's where it started with Kong for me, and then progressed from there to putting in quite a bit more time. I kind of got to a point, I reckon I was hitting maybe like a little bit over 100 grand, like 100K. And I was thinking, I'm getting all right at this game. What do I think I could do if I played this solidly for 10 months, 12 months? Keeping in mind that I was still playing other things at the time. And I came to the realization that having a family, having a job, there's only a certain amount of hours in a day.
Time. That's it.
So, it kind of came to a turning point where I thought, I'm going to have to stop playing other games if I really want to pursue this and try and get good at it. And that's what I did.
So did you obviously you started your own setup at this point, or were you still buggering off to Falcone's each night for a game of Kong?
No, so well, I don't know about you, Neil, but I'm a pretty competitive guy. So from day dot, and don't ever tell Paul this, and hopefully he never listens to this podcast. But from day dot, obviously I watched the mockumentary and then downloaded MAME straight away on a computer. And started trying to get the upper hand on him, so that when I got around there, I could just post a little bit of a higher score.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't need to justify that to you, because you're obviously a competitive guy. You've got. If I'm pouring salt in the wound here, I hope I am. But do you still have the Wonder Boy world record?
No, I don't, man. Yeah, so it's
time to get back on it.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I've got a couple of other things I want to do, but yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Can I switch roles and just be the interviewer and ask you about what kind of things you've got planned?
Yeah. So I don't know if you know of a game called Circus Charlie or not, but it's not going for the world record, but it's a bit like Pac-Man. You can get like the perfect score of like you can max the game out on the score. So that's my plan there. And I just bought a Strikers 1945 board off who do I buy it off? Pelly. So that's just came this week. So yeah, they're the next two things I've got planned. But yeah, who knows what happens after that? So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
For your Ghosts and Goblins world record, how many hours do you reckon you pumped into that game to be able to pull out a world record?
That one particular scary thought. I put so much more time into that than Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy is it's an hour-long memory pattern, because like all of the monsters are in the exact same spot. You just need to know when to shoot, when to jump on each level. But Ghosts and Goblins, that's like Donkey Kong. Like there's randomly generated monsters that do different things at different times. So I've been trying to get Ghosts and Goblins for over I think it's like well over a year of playing that solidly. So probably about
what solidly do you think?
An hour and a night.
Day to day. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you pick it up? Did you start off like a year ago, or did you play the game quite a bit before then?
No, so like I'll take a second on my phone, because I actually started to record my high scores. Yeah. So the record I got was 1.13 million, I believe. Just bear with me here for a moment. So on the 5th of November 2019, I got a score of 147,000.
Okay.
So
it's fair to say you improved significantly between then and now.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's great. Why that game?
Because with Wonder Boy, after I did Wonder Boy, I kind of needed a new challenge, didn't I? So I kind of figured that I got a world record, but I kind of need to. That's one world record, you know. I kind of feel like if anyone chases a game, they could probably get a world record. But I really wanted to challenge myself, and I don't think there's much more of a bigger challenge than Ghosts and Goblins. That's a hell of a. It's known for its difficulty, so I think that appealed to me for some
I was about to say
reason.
That. Like, I understand you going after Wonder Boy, because for me, later on in life, like when I was doing VCE down here, like year 11 and 12, I'd do my study and then I'd jump on a Wonder Boy and just burn through the levels. And I found it quite relaxing.
Yeah.
Whereas Ghosts and Goblins I've played, and it's another prick of a game.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. It's funny, when I got the world record for Wonder Boy, I didn't realize how big it was in Australia in particular. There must have been a lot of Wonder Boy boards that were at the fish and chip joint. Because everyone loves Wonder Boy down here. So yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And it was one of those games that came out early on the Sega Master System.
Yeah.
And it was a good game, wasn't it?
Oh, it was fantastic.
For the
Yeah.
time, it was incredible.
Yeah. It was so fast paced and just enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. So heading back to your setup, you will still have just a MAME kind of setup for Donkey Kong, is that right?
Yeah, so I ran with just MAME on a computer for a long time. Then I bought just a cab that had the side art of Gallagher and Miss Pac-Man and like the bezel and everything for that machine, but just ran a 60-in-1. So that would have been before Kong Off 3 that I got that after I went up there. For the first Kong Off I went to, I'd only been playing on computer. And then went straight onto a cab and playing at Falcone's house too from time to time. And then went straight on. And I thought, after the result of Kong Off 2, I thought, geez, I really got to get onto playing on an actual cab to try and get better at my like fine motor skills with the control stick and the actual jump button sitting on a cabinet. So I got that and I had it at home, and it's just busy. I mean, you know how it is, and a lot of the community know how it is. Like, you got work, you've got your home life, and then you try and do a bit of gaming at home, and it's pretty difficult to squeeze it in at times. Especially if you like to have a can on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night.
That's it, man.
By the time it gets to like 10:30, like, it's time for bed.
Yeah.
So I had that at home, but for the most part, I'm fortunate in my work that we have really busy times, but we have a bit of downtime too, and your downtime's your own. So I just pull out the laptop and play a little bit of Kong and just try and get better that way. While I was on the clock, and where I could snatch an hour here and an hour there, I just play a little bit more. I still played at home, but it was squeezing in games. And then the better you get, obviously, with any game, the longer your games take. So if you want to push it to that next level, you've got to invest a little bit more time in it.
Yeah.
So I was just snatching hours all over the place. And the easiest way for me to do that was to have Kong on the go and just have my laptop there and have a little bit of a play around and do as well as I could.
Yeah. So your first Kong Off, correct me if I'm wrong, that was number 2, wasn't it? So that was still at Netherworld.
Yeah, that was at Netherworld.
Tell us that experience. You come up with your good mate Falcone, and what did you see? What was your first impressions?
It was fantastic. That was the first time I met you, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Was that the year that you were going for the Wonder Boy world record?
I had the world record by then. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you had something going on at Netherworld, didn't you? You were playing. Something happened with their cab, I felt like, and you were playing for a new high score or something to do with Wonder Boy. I felt like you had to do it on a.
I did MAME. I did the MAME world record that weekend. So it was after the Kong Off 2. So yeah.
So the way that all materialized was, again, Falcone said one day when we were playing, and I was managing maybe 150s or something like that. There's an Australian Kong Off. It'd be awesome if we went up there and like played in the competition. And I was like, you've got to be joking. We're playing a game in your garage. We're not going to a competition, and we're not playing in a competition. And he's like, it'll just be a bit of fun. We'll go up. It's in a bar. We'll drink a bit and just have a good time. I was like, there's no way I'm going up there to get embarrassed at a competition of a game we've kind of played for the last 4 months or whatever, 3 months. There's no way it's happening. And then we both continued playing, and we started getting better scores. And then we looked at the scores from Kong Off 1, and I was like, look, we might have a chance now. Oh, I knew that there was amazing players coming over from the States. There was amazing players in Australia. You had
Yeah.
Johnny Bonds at the time.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that clown's name for the first time when I went into
Bartronica.
down in Melbourne.
Yeah.
and this was the first time. This was our first night out on the town, actually going to a barcade to play like an original DK cab in a barcade. So I was absolutely amped. We went in there and I bought a pint for me and a Canadian club for Paul. And we went over to the machine. We had our first game. I think I got like a 170 or something. And I was like, man, that's not a bad score for me. And I went over to the bar and I said to the barman, why don't you guys have a high scoreboard for like whoever has the high scores? And he's like, yeah, dude, it's over there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I looked up at the wall and there's this joker, Jay Bond, who's got an 852 or something. I'm like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Does he just like sit down in his dungeon below his house playing Kong day in, day out? If I ever meet him, I'm going to tell him to go suck a dick. So and that's how the first outing went. And after that outing, we had such a good time. And I was like, do you know what? We'll pass it by the wives. We both had young families. I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
He had similar. And I said, we'll pass it by the wives. We'll go up on the Saturday and then come back on the Monday. So it's 2 nights. No real big deal. And they passed it. They said, yeah, go for it. If you guys want to fly into state to go into a video game competition, you go for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, oh, we will. So we got up there and it was just bizarre from the moment that I walked into Netherworld. And I mean, technically we got there late. We turned up like at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock on the Saturday. Qualifications were well underway. We rock up and it wasn't what I expected at all. Like they had all these beautiful like even walking through the door of Netherworld, it was like a century-old pub, like the old stock standard bar layout, a million beers on tap. So I was in love as soon as I walked in.
Yeah, man.
And then the only thing that was different to walking into a pub back in the 50s was that there was incredible vintage arcade machines everywhere, like pristine condition. I was like, how does this place even run? How isn't it that people don't come off the street on a Saturday night and tear this place apart?
Yeah.
But just walking through from cabin to cabin, then getting down to that floor where they're actually doing the qualifications, just seems surreal. Like I was like, this is really cool. And before we actually had a crack, because we got there at lunchtime, we were both starved and we didn't eat on the plane. We sat down and just so happened, I think it was Sean Tagg, fantastic guy, happened to be sitting down. Didn't even realize they were qualifying for the Kong off. I think Kibby was there. Not sure if Andrew Barrow was there. But a couple of other guys that were well known in the circuit. I mean, we kind of just sat down and started chatting with them. And little did we know that these guys were the competition. These guys were the guys that posted up the real good scores. But they were just ripper blokes. That was the first thing that I noticed when I walked into the place. That the community, and I know from the past, gaming communities can be a little bit fickle.
Oh man, they can be serious toxic. But
they can be.
No, we got something special, don't we? Yeah.
So absolutely. And I just kind of expected a little bit of that, but there was none of it. And I didn't even realize. I knew there'd be guys coming over from the States, but I thought that they'd have an agenda of their own. Like they've come over. It's what they're good at. I thought they'd come over and kind of have their own little clique, but they were mixing through the people. I thought this is a really cool vibe.
Yeah, man.
And had a beer, my first beer of the day, and then jumped on a machine, and with my first dollar was lucky enough to get a 408k, which was that was my personal best.
Oh wow!
For all time.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, that's straight to the bar for me, and I just enjoyed the rest of the day. Which was really fortunate because I went round, I got to know different people, got to talk to different people. yourself.
So
I talked to you for a little bit.
yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
you didn't know anybody else besides you and Falcone. Besides that, you saw Johnny Bond's name on the board. You've probably heard of Barra, possibly, but
Yeah.
that would have
And
been
of
it.
course,
Hey.
Alan Stall.
Oh right, yeah.
I'd obviously watched his clips on on YouTube, and I thought, well, going in at that time, it was pretty much the benchmark. So the other surreal thing was I knocked over that score, which was incredible for me, but no one knew me from a bar of soap.
Yeah.
So as soon as I turned around from that game, and I lost my last man, and I think I had 2 men to go at 398 or something, and then lost too quickly. But I was racked with my 408. I turn around and Alan Stall's there, and he's like, "Oh, how you going? My name's Alan. How long have you been playing the game? How long have you been playing the game for?" So little known to anyone else, because they didn't know me from anyone. They probably just thought I did that on a day-to-day basis. Just
That's it.
408 games, but I just blasted. I think I had a 342 or something before that. I just blasted my PB out of the water, and I was like, "This is surreal!" Like, and everyone was fantastic about it, and coming up, and I think I knocked someone off the back of the qualifying list. But everyone was coming up and going, "Geez, that was an amazing game." And I was like, "This is incredible." Just an incredible community to be a part of. And then it extended from that, that night. All the guys who now own spaces down in Toowoomba, they had a place pretty close by, and they all said, "Oh, just come to our place for the night. Come to our place later for drinks." And I think that's what we did. We kind of played around at Netherworld for a while, and then we ended up sinking beers at their place and playing an actual Nintendo, playing old Nintendo games. And I just thought, this is incredible. Like, a community of people that are so supportive. I just fell in love with it straight away.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Did you have any kind of expectation that you would be in that? I think it's top 16 bracket. When you were going in, were you confident of that, or did you just not care? Or what was your feelings going in?
No, I definitely cared. Like I said, I'm pretty competitive. I'm pretty competitive, and that's one of the things I said to Paul. I said, I want to go up there and just get blown out of the water. We can go up if we think we're at a level where we can hit. And Paul ended up, I think he qualified 17th or something, and he was all the way to the last hour. He had the 16th position and then got bumped at the last minute. So that was a bummer. But I thought that I could make the bottom four. From the scores that I was getting, I thought I could qualify for the knockout stage. And then I didn't care what happened after that. Well, that's what I told myself. That's what I told myself before we got up there. I thought I'd just be able to scrape in. But as it turned out, I think I qualified 8th or something like that with the score that I got. And that's what I wanted for the qualifying. Then when it got into the final stage and the knockout stage, playing against each other, that's all I wanted to experience. I wanted to be able to experience playing Kong like you play Street Fighter. You both drop a dime at the same time, and then you actually go against each other to try and get the best score. And unfortuitously for me, even though he's not as good he wasn't as good then as he was now. I drew, we've already mentioned him, Matt Tecchio in the first round. And I thought, that was one guy, he had his family up there. I hadn't spoken to him at all the whole time. And I'd spoken to all the other guys. I think Barra was even up in the 600s. I talked to Ethan Daniels, who I came in and I was punching the air and taking shots and sculling pines because I got a 408. He came in and got an 840.
Oh man, his form before the Kong, before on the qualifying day, was just incredible. Incredible. But a lovely guy. Estelle Goffinet,
Another guy who just played solidly the whole way through, and just a lovely guy. But I ran into old Ball Stecchio. And I sat down next to him, and I reckon it was the first time that I'd spoken to him over the whole weekend. And he kind of sat down next to me and he said, "Oh, how long have you been playing? What's your personal best? Blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, actually, 4:08's my personal best, and it's a damn sight better than what it was before that." And we got to it, and I played a disappointing game, like a real disappointing game. And I think Tecchio was pretty nervous too. I think he was down to one man. I think I got a 187 or 190 or something like that.
Right.
And I was rushing the board, so I was ahead of him, and he had a couple of men left to get to that point to beat me. And he lost one on the board before he'd get it. And I thought, oh, geez, there's a slight chance here. But he ended up nailing it. And it was great for him because he went on to play amazingly. That was like, I guess we were both feeling pretty overwhelmed by playing on a stage where you've got other people who know how to play Kong, watching your screen, watching how you play, and you criticize yourself for every mistake that you make.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to master that.
Yeah.
Still trying to master playing in front of people.
Totally.
But to his credit, he won that game, and he won it pretty easily. But then he went on to really settle himself down, and he put himself in a spot where he could have almost come out on top. There were some really great players there, but Tecchio just played to his strengths, and he went on. I think he got fourth or third or something like that.
Yeah.
But he played a really good contest. But for me, that first Kong off, and I said to Paul at the time, look, we'll go up for one. We'll see what it's like. I can't see myself playing this game for much longer because I was pouring a little bit of time into it.
Yeah,
I reckon I was playing, like you're saying, an hour a day. I reckon I was probably pouring in 6 hours a week or something like that, which was a bit for my schedule.
Totally.
And some weeks, if I was trying to get right into it, might be able to knock out maybe 12 hours a week or something like that. So I was putting a bit of time into this game, and slowly getting better. But I thought as soon as I went to Kong off 2, I was like, I'm going to be back for Kong off 3. There's no way I can't.
Yeah, that's it.
So I just plugged straight back in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So so you got knocked out in the first round, and then, like you said, Tecchio went on to, I think he went into the semi-finals from there. So pretty stiff competition first up. But that feeling, I'm super jealous of being a part of it on the second day. That feeling when you all drop your first coin and the machines all roar together with the starting sound, like that is something that you have to experience. So
it's so good. It's so good. And I'm sure you'll do it this year.
Oh, we'll see, man. Like it's the wonderful thing about this is we're just attracting more and more great players, and it's going to be tough to crack into the 16 this year.
It's a bit of an unknown, isn't it? And that's a good thing.
Totally.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So from there, you came back to Australian Kong of 3, which was at the Echo this time. So bit of a different vibe. I must admit myself, I loved the feeling of AK2, just even though it was super cramped, but just having it at the heart of Netherworld was pretty amazing. But what was your thoughts of Australian Kong of 3?
Again, it was a completely different beast. It was fantastic. I agree with you that having it in Netherworld, I was completely bummed when I heard that it was going to be moved away from Netherworld, because on that last finals day, there were so many people crammed in there. I reckon there were people that didn't even know what they were doing there.
Yeah,
but
totally.
There was the atmosphere there that it was just electric. So it was sucking people in off the street, and people were pouring out the back. and people were jumping on each other and sweating it up and drinking beer, and it was just crazy, like a real good atmosphere. And then when I heard it was going to be at the showgrounds, I thought, geez, I hope it doesn't take away from it. But I think they executed it pretty well. It was different.
It was different also because we all knew each other now as well. It's like the families getting back together, so it kind of had like that kind of community vibe more. But
exactly,
yeah, we all hang out.
And obviously, I mean, and this is a contentious issue, and I don't know where the podcast sits on talking about it. But the fact that Billy Mitchell was there for me was like, oh man, this is ripper. Like from the mockumentary, I was like, he's like a pretty good villain for that kind of show.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, I thought, geez, that's good, just to stir things up a little bit and just I don't know, get everyone going a little bit.
Sure.
And then I got there, I met him. I had a couple of conversations with him, and he was pretty much exactly what I thought he was going to be. so I was like, this is great. Like, we've got this bloke here who's on the world stage. Let's just have a crack at him.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And jumping ahead into the finals, like I bombed out again, but I'll talk about that a little bit. But going into the final, actually, I'll go back. I'll go in chronological order. So what I did like about it was that we were kind of out in public. Of all places to be next to, we were next to the Country and Western, and Western bar that was roaring most of the time. Closet country music fan. And nice. I enjoyed the range of spirits they had over at their bar, but not their beers. Their beer service was pretty shit house. But I thought it was fun that people every now and then, and the boys at Netherworld again, they orchestrated the whole thing pretty well. Yeah. You had cowboys walking through, having a look at the games, going, "What is this?" Yeah. And having this they had their thing out there, and then over night time we'd have quite a few people in there too. So you get the cowboys walking in and the cowgirls walking in, going, "Who are these people and what are they doing?" And I mean, there was a bit of talking about each other's culture going on, and I thought it wasn't too bad. It's bloody freezing and bloody windy, but for the most part, I didn't mind the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we had internationals there of that standard, I thought it was a good thing. I thought it was a good thing, and I thought it was really something to drive home and get the crowd going about. Yeah. Because I mean, he's got a contentious past. Should he have been there? Maybe not. From that point on, I enjoyed the time there. And from then on, I tried to see other people's perspective on how they felt about having Billy Mitchell there, and I can see that now. And that's part of gaming and the arcade and gaming community itself. People pour a lot of time into what they do and the achievements that they make. And to have any insincerity come past that and push other people off the pedestals, I understand that it can be unforgivable.
Yeah.
So I understand how certain people felt at Kong Off 3, but I also felt that the atmosphere there was equally as electric for different reasons. So going into it, and jump in on me at any time that you want to throw.
I was just going to say, I know it didn't happen. I think everyone knows the result of Kong Off 3, but it gave every Australian who was good enough a chance to beat Billy Mitchell in a Donkey Kong comp. Imagine saying that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It almost happened. Barra on that last in the semi-finals, I think it was. He came damn close.
Did he
But
ever?
yeah, it all just fell apart at the end for him. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And I thought he had a rough run, and that's Kong. Like,
Mm,
you can play a great game and have a rough run, and I'm not making any excuses. Billy Mitchell played some great games. He
yeah.
played a great tournament. Um, and I remember, I hope I'm not talking out of turn here, but I was having a burger with Andrew Barrow, who is one of the best blokes on the arcade gaming community and on the arcade gaming tour. The first time I met him, I didn't even realize that he was a megastar of arcade gaming. And it's funny that you said you're trying to get into Circus Charlie, because he just had a pocket full of coins and we were talking, having a beer. And he goes, "Have you ever seen this game before?" This was before I even knew who he was. We just started chatting. And
Yeah.
he's like, "This game's called Circus Charlie. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen." And he throws a couple of tokens into it, and he shows me how to play it. And then I played it for a little bit, and then it was a couple of hours later that I realized that he had all these. I knew he was a great Kong player, but he had all these other amazing feats that he had that he had achieved.
Yeah, man.
And just he's a wizard, an absolute wizard of arcades, but just such a nice bloke and so supportive of anyone who wants to play any game.
Totally, man. Yeah, he's more than happy to help, and a lot of them are.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
it's very
And
different to
talking
like
about
the pinball scene where like a lot of people keep their secrets of how to get points, but like in Donkey Kong or the arcade scene, we're all cheering each other on and willing to help each
yeah,
other.
exactly,
Yeah,
and different. I guess a little bit to the American scene, and I don't want to go into that too much, but
mm,
it just feels like a completely different community over here, and I'm thankful for that. And that's probably what's kept me in it.
mm.
That's probably what's kept me playing Kong. Um, is it Ashley Jacobs who has Kong Club?
Um, yes, yeah.
Jacob Ashley.
Jacob Ashley, yeah,
I haven't been
someone,
on there in a while.
yeah,
Yeah, he does a fantastic job over there, and promotes a lot of positive community vibes. But you just got some toxic people over there that just bring the
mm,
standard down so much, and
yeah,
so many people that jump on their coattails and just poison a community that's so fantastic.
mm,
And I'm so thankful that over here we don't seem to have that very much at all.
yeah, man, yeah, that's it. So with the Australian Kong off, how did you go with your qualifying? Was it just another one and done kind of day for you where you could sit back and enjoy the beers, or was it a bit
Yes.
more tense?
So again, we got in pretty late. It was just another fly in Saturday, fly out Monday midday kind of thing. So we came in. I was nervous as hell,
Mm,
and I had a couple of beers. I played one game that was terrible, so I just jumped off, had something to eat, had another beer, and then I think I got a 370,000 or something like that. And I had a look at the scores up on the board, and I thought, yeah, it'll probably do. So it was a different scenario where I just went, all right, that'll probably be good enough, and then just went about my business of catching up with people. Like you said, it was almost like a family reunion, that second
mm,
one, and it's probably why, if you had to pit them together with each other, I probably enjoyed that one a little more, because it was like a catch up, everyone coming back together and just having a good time.
yeah,
Uh, so I got that score, and I was like, I'm not really happy with that score, but it'll probably get me through to playing one on one.
yeah,
And when you're playing one on one, whether you're against the best bloke or someone in the middle, if you play well, you're in there with a chance. So you've got to beat anyone on the day. So I kind of figured, I'm happy with that. I'll keep playing. So I went out, had a few beers, chatted with some people, had another meal, came back in, had a few more games. Nothing came up to that. Ended up, interestingly enough, and this is complete truth, so I don't think I'm talking out of turn. Ended up sitting next to Billy Mitchell on a qualifying cab.
yep,
And he was playing on that same cab as he had done for most of the day. And we had a little bit of a chat from board to board, and he kind of turned around and he said, "Well, what's your score? And I said, oh, I think it's about 367 or something like that. And he goes, oh, well, you're not going to get any better than that. And I said to him, well, we'll see about that. So I sat on that game for another 20 minutes or so. And he was right. I didn't get any better than that. But it encouraged me to go down the line and actually have another crack, because someone was waiting behind me. So I passed off that machine to someone else, said me goodbyes, and moved on down to another cab.
Yeah.
Moved on down to another cab, had another crack, didn't get anywhere near it, had a couple of beers, and that ended up being the qualifying score.
Yeah, right.
But that had set the stage for the next day for me.
Yeah.
I thought, geez, I'm just looking forward to anything that happens tomorrow. And it just so happened that I drew his son the very first game.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So it's actually funny that you say that, because there was definitely a feeling through the whole thing of like, what is going to happen? Like, it was going to be entertaining in some form of way coming into that qualifying day. Like,
absolutely.
Drama was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And that night we went back down. I can't remember if I saw you there, because I had a couple of beers that night, but we just played everything that wasn't Kong.
Oh yeah, cool.
And I had an absolute ripper night. I think it finished up again. Andrew Barrow was down there, he was throwing beers around like it was going out of fashion, playing different games together. It was just getting into everyone. It was just rallying like this crowd around him. So it's no wonder that everyone likes him so much.
That's it, man.
It was just down. It was down there buying drinks for people, having a chat, talking. But he never. And we actually played Gallagher at one stage, and I was like, "Any good at this game?" And I think it was. I think it was after he had just become world champion. He was like, "Oh yeah, went over to America and played." And I was like, "Oh, really? How'd you go?" And he's like, "Yeah, I won it."
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But I had an absolute ripper night before the next day, which was again just a ripper day, and we started off. I was nervous as hell going up against Billy Mitchell Jr. And he didn't say much for the whole time he was there. He was a pretty quiet guy. I had a couple of conversations with him, and he said a few things after the competition, but for the most part, I found him pretty respectful. He was quiet, pretty reserved, but I found him an all right guy.
Yeah, totally shouldn't be marked by his dad, that's for sure, because
that's right.
I don't think anyone should have a bad thing to say about him. You know, he was quiet and polite.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I came up against him in the first round of knockouts, and again, the game got on top of me, and I lost a couple of lives early. I reckon I lost 2 lives before 50,000.
Oh wow!
The pressure was on. And he played a pretty solid game. It was like he went into a little dungeon of his own, a mind dungeon of his own, and he didn't even know what was going on outside of his game. But I don't even know if I made over 150. It was a terrible game, and again I was like really disappointed, gutted, because I played so much at home. And I played to a style that I thought I could adapt to a competition. Like, you start a game, you finish a game. Yep. You lose a bloke you lose a guy. Excuse me. You lose a guy on the first level. You keep playing.
Yeah.
You get that shovel out and you start digging yourself out of the shit, because when you're in a competition, there's no restarting.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to master those emotions of feeling down about what you've done, and just dig yourself out. So anyway, it didn't happen. He beat me pretty easily. And that's what I'd like to point out for anyone who's thinking of going up and playing in the competition. If you can chalk out 300,000, 350,000, you can beat almost anyone on your day. Yep. On those knockout stages. there's all kinds of emotions and feelings going on, and everyone's nervous as hell. And Kong's the kind of horrible mistress that can. I reckon it was the first. Oh, sorry, Kong off 2, where Barra just got absolutely barraged by barrels a couple of boards in a row.
Yeah.
And he was just put out of contention by the way that the board set the game up for him.
Yeah.
So if you can chalk out consistent games of around 300, you can beat almost anyone in finals. But
man.
it's getting on top of your emotions, getting on top of your nervousness, and actually being able to transfer that over into just playing the game you know how to play.
Yeah, totally, man. So after that, you lick your wounds, and something must have put a fire in your belly, man, because it was Killscreen time at home, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And it wasn't actually at home. But before we move on quickly, I realise we're clocking up some time here.
No, you're all right, Chief.
But going on from dropping out, I was bitterly disappointed, like really disappointed of the way that I had played. But because of the year before and the year that we had the day before that we had, I felt like I like made a real solid friendship with a lot of these people, especially the night before. And I was just talking about that. Just different people reaching out, saying different things, and you were included in that actually. It kind of put my head in a different place. That I'd lost that game, and I was out of the competition, but it was just a game. That's just a game, and that was my part in the competition. And now I had friends. Shane Saul is a fantastic bloke. Very quiet. He doesn't say boo to anyone, but you talk to him. Is a lovely guy, very intelligent, another incredible gamer. That I mean, people don't hear about because they're not out there just yapping all over social media.
Socials, yeah.
I'd had a chat with him the time before, a small chat, and then a chat with him Kong off 3 as well. And there were all these guys that I found to be fantastic people, and they'd really turned into friends, which was strange because I'd spent 2 days with them before, and then 1 day with them, and then chatted with different people at different times. But I found them to be friends.
Yeah.
So my part was done. I was out of the competition, but then we were moving on to these people that I put up on a pedestal, just fantastic people, not toxic at all. And they were going for the crown against who we knew was probably going to be in the grand final. And I was like, all right, let's get the party started. So that's when I started getting into it and just cheering people on and having a great time. And I just got caught up in the atmosphere. And I think it was criticized at one point when it got down to, I think it was Shane Saul playing against Billy Mitchell in the final.
Yeah.
I was trying to rev everyone up, and I don't think I was disrespectful at the time, but I was certainly getting behind Shane to take it home, and unfortunately couldn't. But I don't think I was disrespectful. I think there were some words that came out afterwards saying that it was a little bit disrespectful, but I don't think it was. But I really enjoyed the end of Kong off 3 incredibly. I just thought it was an amazing event with the way that it finished up. Even though it wasn't the result I wanted, I still went up and shook Billy Mitchell's hand because I mean he played a good tournament.
Totally fair and square.
Yeah, he won it fair and square. And that was the end of that chapter. So going on and after that, I thought, all right, so what am I going to do? Am I going to call it there? Because this was the point that I realized I was playing Kong so much that I've already told you that I love playing video games. It's a great outlet for me, a great release for me.
Yep.
And I realized that I was playing Kong so much that I hadn't played another game in, I don't know, 18 months, 2
Yep.
years. I played nothing.
Yeah.
I was dedicating all the time to Kong.
Yeah. And it starts to become not a leisurely game, does it? It's like it becomes brutal. Like you have to put time into something that frustrates you.
Absolutely. And I found different ways to deal with that. Like first 4 levels, for example, every game I had, I'd listen to music or listen to an audiobook. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So I'd pop an audiobook in because that became a real grind, playing those first 4 levels over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's what it came to after Kong off 3. I thought, what I want is a kill screen. And if I can get that, then maybe that'll be it. Maybe that'll be it for me. So, and then I can start getting back to other games. I can start playing other games, start doing other things, having other interests, because Kong had become my sole interest and the thing that I did with all my spare time.
Yeah.
And after, even though I love Kong off 3 so much, I thought, geez, it's going to be another year before we get around to that time. Unbeknownst to us, it'll be 2 years, 2 years down the track. And I thought, well, you've either got to find a way to finish this or just call it. So I thought, all right, the way to finish it is get a kill screen, chalk it up, and then you've technically finished the game or figuratively finish the game, and then it's not going to be on your shoulders anymore. So I started pouring a little bit more time into it.
Yep.
And the way that it was frustrating looking back on it, because I'd only spoken to Johnny Bond. It was November of 2019. I think it was November 1st of 2019. I got called in for an extra shift at work, and again, we get a bit of downtime. So it got towards the later hours of the night, and I had quite a bit of work to do on the computer. And I actually felt it cathartic to just run boards. Like I just run boards when there was nothing on the line. I just run boards. And I'd spoken to Johnny Bond, I reckon only 2 weeks before on Messenger.
Yep.
And I was talking about starting recording my games and doing this and that. And what I was getting, the scores that I was getting around 500s, consistently over 400.
Nice.
And Johnny Bond said to me, geez, that was around the time that I just came out and got a kill screen. And I was like, man, I'm so far off a kill screen at the moment. Like I'm stretching my last man to get those scores. There's no way I'm getting a kill screen. And he's like, dude, I've talked to other people. This is around the time. So just be aware, if you get into that game, get into the rhythm, get into the groove, and just go for it. And I was like, yeah, all right, no worries. So off the back of that conversation, I start recording games from time to time. And then we get to a night, I get called in to work on an extra shift, and it hits 10:30 at night. So I'm like, all right, I've still got work to do on the computer.
Yep.
I'll run a couple of boards and I'll do that, just keep my hands fresh, and then I'll go and do my work. And it got to over half an hour, and I hadn't lost a bloke, and I was thinking, all right, well, it's going pretty well. And then I think I was looking at photos on my phone today. I took a photo at 3:37 where I still had 3 men. And then 4:80 or something like that, 4:80, where I still had 3 men. And then all of a sudden, I was like, shit, all right. At that point, I hadn't got into the 600s.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm looking good to get into 600s here. So
that's when I die. So when I'm so like getting into like the 400s, and you haven't lost well, okay, I haven't got that far and not lost a man, but like it's that moment when the brain clicks, like, oh shit, this is a good game.
Yeah.
That's when shit gets that's bad for me.
Exactly. So, and I knew from before that my best without a death was 290. So that's why I dropped Kong on the rivets, and I took a photo of the screen at 337 because I was like, all right, I'm past that.
Yeah.
And then I keep going. I think it was about 552 or something was my first death.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Wow.
still wasn't thinking Killscreen.
Yeah.
And that was not something that I did ever. Usually, I usually gauge 150 with a first man was good.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good start to a game, and I got 550, and I thought, well, surely if I can keep my head on a swivel, I can get into the 600s and get a PB, and then see how far I can go. But I wasn't thinking Killscreen. And then I played on, and I can't remember where the other deaths were, but I passed 600, and then past 700. And I think I reckon I have one man left, maybe about 7, might have been less, maybe 680, 710, somewhere around then. And then I just went into the zone. Like you talk about the zone. And I just played board after board, looking at the level. It went up by one each time. I got to level 17, level 18, level 19. And then I was like, shit, I'm getting pretty close here. I reckon I'll just push a little bit further. And each time I wanted to get past Pie Factory. I don't mind Pie Factory. I actually like that level. Like I try and be patient on Pie Factory. Springs I hate because I can still fold up like a cheap deck of cards. And rivets are my all-time hated level.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Just taking the wrong route. And that's probably something that some of the better players could help me out with, that I haven't reached out to. But I find myself in bad spots all the time. But I got to level 21 and the rivet stage. And I thought if I can, I got to springs first. I thought if I can get up springs, I'll be onto rivets, and then I just have to beat that.
Yep.
And I got dealt awesome springs, the big spring, and then a mini spring, easy up, and then got
How many
to
men
rivet.
is this left? Sorry.
Oh, this is one. I'm on my last guy.
Yeah,
I was on my
right.
last guy. I reckon I was on my last guy for over 150,000.
Wow.
But everything just kept going. Everything just kept on going well. And then I got to the rivet stage on 21, and I went up the left side, took everything. They all stayed right. Came back down, grabbed the hammer, and there was 4 of them sitting down on that middle tier, and I was like, the relief that flooded over me. And then one skidded up, and I was like, oh shit, don't do that to me. But I pounded 3 down on that middle level.
Yep.
And then the other 2 went straight up the top. So at that point, I was like, all right, I've pretty much got it here.
Yeah.
But I was still like so nervous because I played this game for so long with this end goal really in mind. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to complete the game. And went up, grabbed the hammer. They both came down, smashed them both, and just took an easy rivet stage. And then I was terrified on the last one. I was like, I've seen what happens at the end of a game, but is there anything different that I need to do to get to that? Like, what if I get hit by a barrel?
Yeah.
Like, what do I do when I get to this stage? Do I jump differently, or do I just run? So I just power ran it through the whole thing, and got turned over, and the feeling was just incredible. So I started at 10:30, and this little innocuous board running game turned into like an hour and a half or hour 3/4. Finished at around midnight or after midnight, and I was just sitting there going, fuck. So it was just like a relief.
Oh yeah,
that
I totally get that. Totally get that.
Just that it had finally happened, and I got off, posted it on Con Club, texted Paul at after midnight, and everyone was really supportive. And the funny thing was, I went to sleep that night thinking, that's it. I've done it. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
That's all I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
And now I can ease off on the Kong. And then it hit me in the morning, like, I'm not going to be able to post that score. Like, I didn't video that. I've got no evidence of it. Like, I've got a picture of it, but that's not evidence. And I told myself for the next couple of days, like, that doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. Like, you were playing this game against yourself. You've achieved it. But it turned out, like, the weeks after that, I was like, I just want something in stone. So I actually went back to Kong harder than I ever did before, because I had the feeling, and I've heard Matt Tecchio say it in the past, like, once you get a kill screen, you can do it again. And I was like, after I'd done that, I was like, I can do it again.
Yeah.
I've done it now. I can do it again. And that was the next 6 months of my life were a very frustrating time, because I didn't do it again. I came close. But I poured myself into it more than I had in the past, because I just wanted to just tick off that box. Like, I got it for myself, but I thought it'd be nice to have that on Twin Galaxies or somewhere that records scores.
Totally. Yeah.
That said for the rest of the time that I got that score, or I didn't care about the score, that I kill screened it.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't have that. So I felt like I got the monkey off my shoulder. And then it had only been a couple of days later.
Quickly crept back. Yeah, man. Yeah. So what was your end score, Jay?
My end score was 826, 400.
Okay. Right. And have you looked on, like, the Donkey Kong forum to see, like, kind of where that would fit?
Yeah, I did. I did at the time. I couldn't tell you now. It was over 100. I don't know, maybe better. Ranked 120 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Are you talking about Twin Galaxies or
no? Donkey Kong forum. Yeah, I think there's more scores on DK forum anyway. So.
Oh, is there?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I'll have a look. DK forum's something that I haven't been on in the past. Like, I was on Kong Club, and then I check Twin Galaxies all the time, because you've got, the best scores that are actually recorded. But I should go on Donkey Kong forum and have a look. But it's something that still sits on my shoulders. And after that, after COVID happened, I was still playing pretty solidly up to the start of COVID, because I was planning on going to Kong 4 and giving it a red hot go. And that was the best I ever was. Start of 2020 was the best I was ever playing consistently, but I just couldn't snag another kill screen. It bugged the hell out of me. But when COVID hit, and it was evident that we weren't going to Brisbane again, it kind of it fell off for me. And at that point, I thought, Jesus, well, how long is this going to go on for? It's got to be another year at least before we can go up there and play another Kong off. So I guess I started getting back into other games. I've started playing again, because obviously I'm going up for Kong off 4. And I'm looking forward to it like you wouldn't believe. But I don't want to say that out loud, because if it gets called off, that's another holiday that gets called off.
Yeah, you poor bastard. Yeah.
I will tear this place apart. I'll burn it down. I'm telling you, I'll burn it down. But
you heard it here first, folks.
But it's let me get back into other games, which I've really enjoyed too.
No, cool.
But I'll in the next month, I'll plug into Donkey Kong, and I'll try and get myself back up to that stage.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I was thinking, like, looking at these blasts, like, I've got a bit of like a history of the Australian Kong off here happening, just in regards to scores and things. Now, you've been knocked out by 2 semi-finalists, like 2 players that have actually gone on to play well into the competition. So you're a bit of a dark horse this year if you can get into a good routine again and with a bit of experience under the belt now, playing in that kind of scenario, or that kind of head-to-head tournament. Yeah, do you like your chances, Jay? Or
I'd be disappointed if I didn't win this Kong off coming up, to be honest with you. I'm joking, of course.
I was you had me cold.
That was
You had
that was
me
really
cold.
nice of you to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
That was really nice of you to keep a straight face. I was just throwing the hook out in the water and seeing if you'd laugh me out the back of my shed, but you didn't. And thank you for that.
No,
Thanks for that.
I honestly think that you're like the people that I have coming onto this podcast are the people that I really think have a really strong chance of like making it to the end of the competition. So yeah, you're right on my radar, Jay. And like I said, I think experience playing in this competition plays a huge part about how far you can go in.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. I appreciate that. And I think it does. Playing in those knockout rounds gives you the experience of the pressure that I hadn't experienced in any of my gaming. I play online, played Battlefield, Call of Duty, Rocket League is my obsession at the moment. I can't stop playing it. So you play games, you get a little bit nervous if you're playing against better people and trying to get your rank up, but it's nothing compared to playing in a competition.
Yep.
Next to other people.
Yeah, totally.
So there's that that I feel like I've got that experience now. But at the same time, and this is what I was saying before, for anyone who's looking at coming up and playing, the number one person that you've got to beat on the day is yourself, because you can play 400 games every day, play 400k games every day, but with that nervousness behind you, they drop down very quickly. Down very, very quickly. So I'd be happy to get into that. There's a lot of new great players, Patrick Silvers and a lot of other people that have come onto the scene that are getting amazing scores. Luke Bushell has turned himself into an incredible Kong player since the last competition that we had. Matt Tecchio, I think he's been going all right. I think he's got a Killscreen, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I know he died on the Killscreen once. We should let that down.
And that makes me so happy. That makes me the happiest man alive. But he is a master of the game that has put in the time, and now he's on the world scene. Of Donkey Kong. I'm looking forward to catching up with him because he's another great bloke. And I'd love to play him, and he'd just have a gutser of a game and just got horrible RNG, and he just bummed out at like 80,000 because I reckon I might be able to get 90,000 in a knockout game. But you've just got some incredible players there, and hopefully Andrew Barrow gets over because he can make a night or break a night. So I really hope that everyone gets together and gets to the next Kong off, and I reckon it'll be a really interesting time.
Yeah, well, that's like two players. I think I'm not sure if Andrew Barrow's in the top 10, but he's damn close if he's not. So you've got two players in the top 10. It's just outstanding, like in the world. How insane is that?
Absolutely. Yeah. He's a Donkey Kong wizard.
Just wondering, just in regards to your Killscreen, did you reach out to the community for assistance with that, like some tips or anything like that, or did you pretty much do it yourself?
To be honest with you, I watched a little bit in the early days, but I found it easier to get my own game style, and I was playing so much of the game that and that's probably not right. It's probably wrong. There's probably things that people that watch my games and go, geez, why is he doing that? For example, I like moving off the second to top girder with the furthest ladder to the left, every time. I never use the one, and most of the good players will use the second to last ladder to get up to the top girder. The second top girder. There's things. I just felt comfortable with the game that I was playing.
Totally.
I definitely could have done more research and definitely could have reached out to more people. And I'm in a messenger chat with you with some incredible players in there. But I haven't in the past, and maybe that's something I should do just to sew up my Kong career and try and get that last kill screen and get it on Twin Galaxies, or just have it recorded somewhere. Because I've got no doubt, and that's a really good point for anyone who's up and coming. You can cut a lot of corners by watching other feeds, talking to people, asking people questions. Again, Matt Tecchio, the slime bag that he is a wealth of knowledge, and he's always happy to pass it on. And that's the worst thing. He's so humble. He's always willing to pass it on. And I've got no doubt that if you're an up and coming Kong player, or even if you're playing to try and get 200,000, if you send him a video, he'd probably watch it and say, well, stop doing this, don't do this. So there's a lot of helpful people out there. And it's funny. I'll close with this story because I know we're going a long time now.
All good, man.
But I moved the cab that I was talking about. I moved it out of my house because I just wasn't getting any time to play it. My wife runs a small business from home, indigodreamshandmade.com. Get on it. I plugged it.
Yep. Good.
And so I moved the arcade out of home and I moved it into the server room at work, just so I could have a couple of games. And in the downtime, anyone who's there can have a couple of games on the arcade. Now I just got it set up, and one of the blokes came in. He's over 50, 54, 53, 54. Walks into the server room, sees the arcade, and goes, Jesus, holy shit, does that have Gallagher on it? I was like, yeah, come over, have a go. So I put on Gallagher and put it on a 2-player game, and he starts tapping away, and he's absolutely toweling me up. And I consider myself a pretty good gamer. And he goes, oh, geez, this reminds me of when I was a kid. I haven't played this since I was in my teens. He goes, reminds me of the story, and it launches into this story. And this goes back to what we all feel about video games. He goes, they used to have one of these down at my local pizza joint. And I went to a Catholic school, and one day we were going through the teacher's back cupboard, and we found a book of raffle tickets. So we stole the book of raffle tickets, and we spent the next 3 days going out around the suburbs selling raffle tickets to nothing. He said we'd go we'd knock on the door, and we'd say, oh, we're just doing a raffle for the local church. And they'd give over however many dollars, and they'd go on to the next door and knock on that. And he said, after 3 days, we had that much money. It wasn't funny. And so what we did, we decided, what are we going to do with this money that we've got? So they decided they'd go down to the pizza shop, and they put 3/4 of the money into Gallagher. They bought pizzas every day. After they spent a whole week after school going down, eating more pizza than they could stomach, putting all their money into Gallagher and the pinball machine next to it. And he goes, it was the best week of my entire life. And I was like, it was a real sobering moment that I was like, I thought I was like a pioneer of gaming. Like I had a Sega Master System, so I got it at the bottom floor, didn't I? And here's this bloke in the early 80s. He's pretty much extorting the church to feed his video game habit. I was like, this guy's way more crazy than me.
That's awesome.
But, and that's what I love about it. That's what I love about the games. It's what I love about the old arcades. There's just a history to everything.
Totally.
And when you think about your favorite games. It's the ones that you've shared with people that are close to you, ones that you've enjoyed in other people's companies, ones that have touched you in ways that other games haven't, or other things haven't. And that's why I just love the scene. I love the gaming scene. I love the arcade scene. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, man. Well said. Well said. On that note, Jay, thanks for joining us on the podcast. And like I said, yeah, in a couple of months, you'll be joining us up in sunny Brisbane playing some Kong. So looking forward to seeing you then.
Let's hope, dude. Let's hope. I can't wait to see everyone up there. For anyone who's playing Kong and listening to this podcast, get into it, play hard, pour more time into it, waste more of your life doing it, because you'll be rewarded when you get up there and you get to that competition, because there are no better people in the world. It'll be the best weekend of your life. So get up there, do it, play hard. Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me on. I've got some mega stories compared to a lot of other people in the community. So I appreciate you having me on, and I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Spacey's Cafe and Arcade in Toowoomba kindly sponsors the Play It Up podcast. If you are ever in or near Toowoomba, we think you're crazy if you don't give them a visit. Spacey's has loads of arcade and pinball machines, retro consoles, and even air hockey. They have an excellent selection of food and drinks for the whole family, and have some great beers on tap. Spacey's is open Wednesday through Sunday, and you can check them out on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with the awesome events they have going on there. Spacey's is located at 2 Club Lane in Toowoomba. Take a trip back to the 80s with Spacey's.